A gunman shooting and killing conservative political activist Charlie Kirk as he was speaking in front of a crowd of thousands.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Oh my God.
Wait, Cody, go, run.
What started as a routine public appearance turned into a nightmare. Moments after Charlie Kirk took the stage, the unthinkable happened. A hail of gunfire sent hundreds running for their lives.
Oh my gosh!
Security rushed him off stage as chaos unfolded. Sirens wailed, helicopters swirled above, and across the nation, millions watched in shock. Who planned this? Why target him? And how did investigators track down the suspect, offering a staggering $100,000 reward to anyone who could help solve the mystery? This is the full story of the night everything changed. This was more than an attack on a man, it was a strike at a symbol. In the hours that followed, questions grew louder than the sirens. Who had planned this? Why target him? And how far would investigators go to bring the attacker to justice? One thing was certain, the hunt had already begun. Stay with us, because what happened next will change the way you see public safety forever. In the weeks leading up to the night of the attack, Charlie Kirk seemed untouchable. His schedule was relentless, flying from state to state, speaking at packed auditoriums, and hosting heated debates on national television. Each appearance seemed bigger than the last. For his supporters, he wasn't just a political voice, he was a symbol of defiance in a world they believed was drifting away from their values. And he embraced that role fully, standing firm under the spotlight no matter how fierce the criticism became. Behind the scenes, however, small signs of unease had begun to surface. Security teams had quietly increased their presence at his events, scanning every crowd more carefully than before. Threatening emails and vague messages on fringe forums had grown more frequent, often brushed off as the price of being a public figure. But there was something different about the tension this time, an undercurrent of hostility that felt sharper, more personal. His closest aides noticed it too, though none dared to say it aloud. Despite it all, Charlie appeared calm, almost defiant. He told those around him that fear was not an option, that backing down would only give power to the voices trying to silence him. In interviews, he smiled and spoke of unity, even while knowing that half the world seemed determined to see him fall. The rally he was about to attend was supposed to be routine, another stop on his nationwide tour. But in hindsight, every detail now feels like the slow tightening of a storm, silent, invisible, and moments away from breaking. The day everything changed. The evening began like countless others for Charlie Kirk. The venue buzzed with life, bright lights, waving flags, and the hum of conversation as hundreds of attendees poured in, eager to see him speak. Security checkpoints lined the entrances, scanners beeped steadily, and staff hurried between rows to seat the overflowing crowd. From the outside, it felt like just another successful rally on his whirlwind national tour. No one sensed the quiet shadow that had already slipped through the cracks. As the clock struck 7, the lights dimmed and the crowd erupted into cheers. Charlie stepped onto the stage, smiling and waving, his voice steady as he launched into his opening remarks. Cameras flashed, fans clapped, and the air seemed charged with energy. But hidden somewhere in the sea of faces, someone was waiting, calm, silent, and carrying a deadly intent. While the audience heard words about hope, unity, and freedom, one pair of eyes was locked on him with an entirely different purpose. Then it happened. A single deafening crack split the room like a lightning strike. For half a second, there was silence, just confusion, disbelief, before chaos swallowed everything. Screams tore through the hall, chairs toppled, banners ripped, and the once celebratory crowd surged in every direction. Security agents swarmed the stage, shielding Charlie as they pushed him toward the wings, their voices sharp and panicked. Within seconds, sirens wailed outside, echoing off the walls as first responders flooded the area. People ran from the building in waves, some crying, others clutching their phones, desperately trying to understand what had just happened. In an instant, the rally had transformed from a symbol of strength into a scene of terror, and the world would never see it the same way again. Hunt for the suspect. The hours after the shooting plunged everything into uncertainty. The once vibrant venue stood frozen under blinding floodlights, cordoned off by yellow tape as investigators moved like shadows through the debris. Charlie Kirk had been rushed to a secure location, his condition undisclosed, while the world held its breath. Outside, news vans lined the streets, reporters whispering into microphones as if afraid to disturb the silence. But behind the scenes, law enforcement was already moving at full speed. The hunt had begun. Detectives worked through the night, gathering shell casings, pulling security footage, and interviewing shaken witnesses who could barely recall what they'd seen. Somewhere among the chaos they knew was a clue. Grainy video from a corner camera showed a figure slipping through an exit moments after the first shot rang out.
Upper building, he's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge.
A person dressed in dark clothing, face hidden, moving with a chilling calmness while the crowd panicked around them. That brief glimpse became their first real lead. By morning, the case had grown far beyond the local police. Agents from the FBI and ATF joined the investigation, bringing in digital forensics teams, ballistics experts, and behavioral profilers. They scoured extremist forums, searching for anyone who had hinted at violence. They traced gun shop records, cross-matched names with travel histories, and combed through hours of surveillance footage from nearby streets. Every new tip brought a burst of hope, then a wall of frustration. False leads flooded their hotlines. Rumors spun across social media faster than they could be debunked. Still, investigators refused to slow down. Somewhere out there, the shooter was watching the chaos they had created, and the race to find them was tightening by the hour. The $100,000 reward. As days passed without an arrest, the unease that gripped the nation only deepened. The story dominated headlines, every news outlet broadcasting endless loops of the chaos from that night. Yet despite the flood of tips and non-stop investigation, the suspect remained a ghost, vanishing into thin air while the world demanded answers. Fear began to bleed into frustration. People wanted justice, and they wanted it now. In a move that signaled the urgency of the manhunt, the FBI held a packed press conference alongside local law enforcement. Cameras flashed as the lead agent stepped to the podium, his voice steady but sharp. He announced that authorities were offering a $100,000 reward for any information leading to the suspect's capture and conviction. Gasps rippled through the room. This was no ordinary bounty. It was a desperate call for help, and everyone knew it. Moments later, agents unveiled a chilling piece of evidence, newly recovered surveillance footage of the suspect. The grainy video showed a hooded figure slipping out a side exit in the chaos, moving with a disturbing calm while people fled in panic around them. Though their face was obscured, the video captured the smooth, deliberate way they walked, glancing over their shoulder only once before disappearing into the night. The clip aired on every major network within hours, searing its shadowy image into the minds of millions. Almost immediately, the floodgates opened. Thousands of calls poured into the tip hotline. Emails, photos, and voice messages came from all over the country, some from people convinced they recognized the figure, others just hoping for the reward. The investigation, once crawling in the dark, suddenly surged forward with new energy. And somewhere out there, the suspect had to know. The world was closing in. The breakthrough and capture. Just when it seemed the trail had gone cold, a single phone call cracked the case wide open. A local mechanic from a small town 2 hours away contacted the FBI tip line, claiming he had seen someone matching the suspect's build and clothing near an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. At first, investigators were cautious. Dozens of similar tips had led nowhere, but this one felt different. The man described the suspect's strange behavior, the way they avoided eye contact, and the black duffel bag they carried tightly at their side. Within minutes, agents were on the move. By nightfall, the quiet outskirts of the town were swarming with unmarked vehicles. Tactical teams moved silently under the cover of darkness, surrounding the warehouse with precision. Inside, faint light flickered through broken windows. The air was thick with tension, every movement slow and deliberate as they closed in. Suddenly, a loud command shattered the silence. "FBI, come out with your hands up." For a moment there was nothing. Then a figure emerged from the shadows, hands raised, eyes cold and unblinking. The suspect was taken down without a single shot fired. After days of fear and chaos, it was over. Investigators soon uncovered a disturbing backstory, months of planning, extremist writings, and a deep personal grudge against Charlie Kirk. The person who had thrown the nation into panic was finally in custody, and for the first time since that horrifying night, the country could breathe again. Charlie Kirk breaks his silence. After days of silence and speculation, Charlie Kirk finally reappeared. The nation watched as a video message from him went live across every major platform, his face pale but steady, framed by the soft glow of a secure studio. His voice carried a calm weight, the kind that comes only from surviving what most can't imagine. He began by thanking the first responders, law enforcement, and the public for their relentless support during the darkest moment of his life. He spoke of the fear that night, the chaos, the screams, and the haunting question of whether he would ever see his family again. But he made it clear he would not be intimidated into silence. They wanted to stop a voice, he said, but all they did was prove how powerful that voice has become. His words rippled across social media, sparking a flood of messages from supporters who had been holding their breath for days. In that single statement, Charlie transformed from a victim into a symbol of resilience, showing the world that even after staring down death, he would not retreat from the fight he had started. The aftermath and national debate. The capture of the shooter did not bring an end to the conversation, it only ignited it. Across the nation, the attack on Charlie Kirk became the center of a storm that refused to fade. News panels debated late into the night about rising political hostility, the dangers of online radicalization, and the glaring gaps in security at public events. Every angle was dissected: how someone could plan an attack so precisely, how they slipped past layers of protection, and what it meant for the future of political discourse in America. In the days that followed, supporters rallied around Charlie with renewed determination. Hashtags surged, rallies grew larger, and his words seemed to carry more weight than ever before. At the same time, critics questioned what this incident revealed about the volatile state of the country, how deep the divisions had grown, and how easily words could spiral into violence. What began as a single horrifying moment had become a mirror held up to the entire nation, forcing people to confront just how fragile the line between passion and hatred had become. And through it all, Charlie stood unshaken. He returned to the stage weeks later, not as a victim, but as a man unwilling to be silenced. For many, his survival became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that ideas can be threatened, but never erased. If you followed this story to the end, it means you care about the truth behind the headlines. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and stay with us as we uncover the stories that shape our world, because this is only the beginning.